All right, you're good to go.
Okay. All right. Good morning. Today's Daf Chavdalad. So Shabbos should be for Shlomo ben Esther Rachel. So we left off the top, 4 lines in the top on Chavdalad and Aleph. We were discussing. We just had another Mishnah. So the Mishnah had discussed. Do we have another Mishnah? Maybe not. Where was the Mishnah? Huh? No. Maybe. Okay. Yeah, we discussed that. Fine. We just discussed Shemin Streifa, which was from the Mishnah. Because we're going to get to that Mishnah today, the next one. That you can't go ahead and be madliket on Yontif, which is Erev Shabbos, and we discussed that. We'll soon see why. We're going to go actually on Amud Beis. We'll discuss the reason why. But let's see. Mahu lahaskir shel Chanukah b'birchas hamazon. Do we, or is one allowed to? What's halacha regarding? We'll go with that. What's halacha regarding mentioning Chanukah, right? Such as Alanisim in the birchas hamazon during benching. So Kavan de midrabanan hu loymad karinan. Is it the fact that it's only midrabanan? Therefore, you don't need to go ahead and mention it in Birkas Hamazon. Or maybe by the fact that since it is something which is Persimonisa, that even though, despite the fact that, let's say, one is benching, and really there's no necessity. It's only the whole holiday itself is midrabanan. So maybe there's no necessity to go ahead and mention it. We don't, or perhaps since it's Persimonisa, so we'd also mention it. So Amar Rav Amar Rav Amar Rav Huna Eino Maskir. No, you don't have to. You don't have to, and if you do go ahead and mention it, then you only mention it in Hodah, right? You mention in the part of Hodah, which is which we say V'yala Kol, right? The location where we say Alanis, we don't say it later on in Bnei Yerushalayim. Rather, we say in Nodelecha, which is Hodah. Rav Huna bar Yehuda ikla lebei Rava savad kuri b'Bnei Yerushalayim. So one time, Rav Huna bar Yehuda was in the house of Rava, or the yeshiva Rava. So he wanted to go ahead and mention in Bnei Yerushalayim. So Rav Sheshes ketfilo. It should be like tefilo alanisim, ma tefilo b'hodah. Just like by tefilo, we don't mention it in the avoda like by Ritzei, but rather we mention it in Hodah later on after Modim. Birchas Hamazon b'Hodah. So too, Birchas Hamazon also we mention Hodah. So therefore, the alanisim goes in the location of Hodah, both in Shemona Esrei and in Birchas Hamazon, and not in the place of the Voda with the other additions I mentioned. See, next question, 2 dots. What about mentioning Rosh Chodesh in Birchas Hamazon, such as Yala V'Yovo? If you want to say maybe the reason Chanukah you don't have to is Rosh Chodesh, which is Chanukah D'Rabbanan Lo Yitzarech. However, Rosh Chodesh D'Oraisa Tzarech. Rosh Chodesh, since it's D'Oraisa, right? Rosh Chodesh, mentioned the Torah, that the first of the month, right? Is Rosh Chodesh. There's D'Oraisa Tzarech. Dilma Kain Lo Aser B'Asiyas Malacha Lo Maskerinon. Or maybe the fact that on Rosh Chodesh, right, there is no Isser Malacha. And therefore, since there's no Isser Malacha like there is on Shabbos or Yontif, so therefore one would not be required to go ahead and mention Rosh Chodesh in benching. So Rav Omer Maskir, Rav says, no, on Rosh Chodesh, you do go ahead and add, insert Yala V'Yovo. And Rabbi Chanina, Omer Eino Maskir. And Rabbi Chanina says, no, there's no need. And Amar Rav Zrika, Nokut the Rav B'Yadecha. He said you should hold like Rav, who says Maskir. In your hand, we hold like him. The Rabbi Yosha Kvase, right? Because Rabbi Yosha holds like him. The Tanya Rabbi Yosha, Yomim Sheyesh Behen Kara Musaf. On days that we mention, and days that we say Musaf, Kegoin, such as Rosh Chodesh, the Chol HaShamoed. What? Rosh Chodesh, yeah? Zaches. Yeah. Kegoin Rosh Chodesh, the Chol HaShamoed. Arvis, V'Shachris, U'Mincha. So on days where we have Musaf, such as Rosh Chodesh, right, and during the Arvis, Shachris, and Mincha, Mispal Shemona Esrei, we say the regular Shemona Esrei of 18 brachas, the Omer Me'ein HaMa'od Rabbi Avoda. And then we say, similar to the holiday, right? In other words, that day during the Avoda, right? We say Yala V'Yovo, we insert it right after it say right? Rashi says, "Lavakish rachmim al Yisrael v'al Yishalayim." Right, lahashiv avodim kaimal asas konas hayom. Right, so said to request mercy upon Yisrael and Yishalayim, and to return the avoda to its proper place. So all of these things are done. We do mention, and those days that have musaf, we mention during the avoda. V'im lo, and if he does not say it, v'im lo amar machzino say, then we go ahead and he has to go back. Ve'ein behen kedusha alakais, and there is no kiddush alakais. V'yesh behen haskara b'birkas hamazon, and there is mentioning of it both of Rosh Chodesh and Chol Moed. Right, there is mentioning it in Birkas Hamazon as we do go ahead and insert Yalav Yavo. Now, Yomim she'ein behen karban musaf, days where there is no karban musaf, kagons such as Sheni v'Chamishi v'Tanis and Amados, such as Monday and Thursday and fast days and Mamodos. We'll get this in 1 second. So Gemara says, what, Monday and Thursday, what are you talking about? Sheni Chamishi, my Avidasai, what are you talking about Monday and Thursday, right? Was Chris Torah, what's going on here? Ella, Sheni, v'Chamishi, v'Sheni. Rather, we're talking about referring to Bahab, right? Bahab, those that go ahead, basically fast after the holidays. So those who fast those days. So these are basically public fast days. So days that are fasting, such as Bahab or Sheltanios or different Tainus, such as they made Tainus for there's no rain. Or Mamados. Mamados are times of basically where, right, the obligation we know is for people to be present when the korban is offered. So a person brings a chatas, he has to be present. He brings an olah, he has to be present. So what about the korban tzibur? So they used to go ahead and have basically people represent Bnei Yisrael to go ahead and be the those who offer the korban. So therefore they would go ahead and those days some were there, the others were not there, part of that maimed. They would go ahead and fast. So all these people, they would be fasting these days. So what happens to those who fast without musaf? So Arvis v'Shachris Mincha mispalo Shmona Esrei. During Marav, Shachris and Mincha, they would be mispalo the Shmona Esrei. V'Amar me'ein ha'ma'ira b'shamei tefillah. And they would say that which is mentioned me'ein ha'ma'ira. In other words, that which is part of the day. What was me'ein ha'ma'ira in this case? That was basically we say anenu or different things in the in the tefillah, right? B'shamei tefillah. So during Shemei tefillah, we go ahead and insert something for the day, and that is inserted, right, during, right, Shachris Mincha, right, and Marav Shachris Mincha. Right, so now there's a whole thing over here in terms of Marav. We really actually don't do a Marav because it's only a day fast. So some want to say that really they used to do a Marav and then they inserted before to do the Mincha, to be Makabala before, but not during the Marav because something happened and then they couldn't do it. So then they wouldn't do it during that Marav. The Imlo Omar Ein Machzirin Oiso. And if over there, if it's forgotten during Shomei Tefillah, then it's not returned. And then you got the parentheses, and nothing to do with Kiddush. Ain't behen askaras b'berkas hamazon. And also, there's no askaras b'berkas hamazon. So when is obviously if it's a fast day when you benching? So it could refer to the benching at night and the evening before that you do not mention at all any part of the fast or anything during their berkas hamazon. Fine, 2 dots. Mahu lahasker shel Chanukah b'musaf.
Wait. We're talking about
what is it?
Benching when you're fasting.
Right. So I say Birkas Hamazon. So referring to Birkas Hamazon for the night, right? Shel Arvis b'knisaso. Right. If you look at Rashi, so Rashi says, right, benching of at night b'knisaso. Right, when it's entering, obviously the evening before.
Oh, I see.
So during that time, right. And certainly during the Yitzia, after, right, in the Motzei, the fast, certainly you wouldn't mention it, right, because that day is already over, right? Now, so now, what is the halacha when it comes to mentioning Chanukah in Musaf? Now, remember, the Musaf falls out twice every year on Chanukah, or at least twice, right? Once for Shabbos, and another time, not only Shabbos, but also Rosh Chodesh. Right, so you mentioned Musaf. You mentioned Musaf. So during those Musafin, do you mention Alanisim? What's the shaila? So Kavan the Lesbe Musaf V'didei Lo Madkirinon. Since the Musaf isn't for Chanukah, so therefore we shouldn't mention the Chanukah, right? The Musaf is the extra carbon that was brought on Shabbos, or the Musaf is the extra carbon that was brought on Rosh Chodesh. What does that do with Chanukah? Oh, Dilmar perhaps. Yom Hu Shechai Barba Tfilos. Maybe it's a day that's obligated in 4 tfilos, and since it's obligated in those 4 tfilos, whatever tfilos I say in those days, I mentioned the miracle of Chanukah. For Sumanis, I mentioned Alanissim. So which is it? So Rav Huna, Rav Yehuda, Damar Tavayu, Eino Maskir. So Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda both say you don't mention it. You don't mention Alanissim in Musaf. Rav Nachman, Rav Yechon, Damar Tavayu, Maskir. No, you do mention Alanissim in Musaf. And Amar Rabbi Rav Yosef says Rabbi Rav Yosef, Ha the Rav Huna, Rav Yehuda, the Ravu. That first opinion which says you do not mention Alanissim during Musaf, right? That is the opinion of Rav. So if you have Rosh Chodesh that falls out on Shabbos, Hamaftir b'Navi b'Shabbos einod tzarich lahaskil shorosh Chodesh. When you go ahead and do the Haftarah, he's going to be maftir for the Navi on Shabbos, you don't need to mention Rosh Chodesh. Why is that? Because the maftir is only coming for the Shabbos Shabbat. It's not coming for the Rosh Chodesh. So therefore, you don't mention Rosh Chodesh. You only mention Shabbos, right? You don't need to mention it because it's not coming for that purpose. Shiumalei Shabbos, because if it wasn't for Shabbos, ein Navi Rosh Chodesh, you would be mentioning Rosh Chodesh. So to say over here, if it wasn't for the fact that it was Rosh Chodesh, right? So there wouldn't be any Musaf. So therefore, when I do mention Rosh Chodesh, I don't need to go ahead and mention Alanissim. So Gemara says, "Me dummy. How can you compare the two between Shabbos, the Haftarah there, in our case of saying Alanissim during Musaf? Me dummy. Hasam Navi over there. There's no cloud. There's no Navi at all in Rosh Chodesh. So therefore, since there's no Navi at all, therefore obviously we don't go ahead and mention Rosh Chodesh, right, during the Navi that's read because of its Shabbos. However, Hachav in this case, Isib Arvis Shachas Mincha. But over here, we already have 3 Shmona Esreis where we say Alanissim. So in other words, it's not a good comparison because we're already established the fact that you say Alanissim during Shmona Esrei. So maybe we also say that. So let's compare to another case, a similar case. The Amarav Achduvai Amarav. Amarav Masna Amarav. Yom Tov Shechal Yos b'Shabbos. So Yom Tov that occurred on Shabbos, once again. Now this is a Yom Tov, right, that had on Shabbos. Hamaftir b'Navi b'Mincha b'Shabbos. One who's going ahead and reading the Navi, right, during Mincha and Shabbos. So apparently, if you look at Rashi for a second, right, the second bottom Rashi, so he's Hamaftir b'Navi. So apparently they used to have the minhag to read. Not only was the Haftarah and Shachris, but there was also Haftarah they used to mention. They used to say after laning during Mincha. Right, so he writes there, Hamaftir b'Navi b'Mincha b'Shabbos. Matzasi b'Tshuvas Hagayim b'Shayi Ragil Likros b'Navi b'Shabbos b'Mincha Asar Psukim. They used to go ahead and read for the Navi and Shabbos Mincha 10 Psukim. However, Mei Parasayim Gazur Gzeira during the days of the Persians they were Gazur Gzeira Shalol Asais became Nistalkal Nistalkal. And once they stopped. So they never reestablished that minhag. So apparently they used to have the minhag of going ahead and basically doing Haftarah during Mincha. So says the Gemara. So a Yontif that came out, and it was only done in Shabbos. It was not done in Yontif. So if it was a Yontif that came out on Shabbos, so Hamati b'Navi b'Shabbos, Einod Sarich Lahaskil Shal Yontif. You don't have to mention Yontif at all. Now we know that normally if it's just Yontif without Shabbos, there's Haftarah. So we see that the Haftarah does have shaykhus with Yontif. And nevertheless, since it's a mincha reading of the Haftarah, you do not mention Yontif at all. Why Shemale Shabbos ain't circle ask Yontif? Why Shemale Shabbos? Because it wasn't for Shabbos. Ain't Navi lebincha b'Yontif, right? There is no Navi during Mincha Yontif. The less, however, says even though it's a good proof that we see over here that if that's the case, therefore you should not mention Alanissim during Musaf Shemona Esrei of Rosh Chodesh and Shabbos when it falls out during Hanukkah. However, the less Hilchasa Kochohani. However, which we know obviously we have the minhag, we do go ahead and say Alanissim during Musaf and during Shabbos, Hanukkah. However, less Hilchasa Bechol Hani Shmaitza. Rather, the halacha is not like this we just case, Ella Kiha, like this case. If you have Yom Kippur that falls out on Shabbos, Hamispalel Ne'ilo Tzarich Lahazkir Shel Shabbos. Right? Now, normally, right, you daven only 4 tefillos, right, on days of Yom Tov, but on Yom Kippurim, there's an extra one, there's Ne'ilo. There's a 5th one. Now, Ne'ilo has no shaykhus to Shabbos, right? So, but it says over here clearly that you mention Shabbos during the Elo, right? In certain times, you have obviously those have the the art scroll. You mentioned those in the what's it called, in the shaded area, right? Because it's Shabbos or the parentheses. So you mentioned Shabbos during the Elo and Yom Kippurim. So it's so he said Elo tzarich la'askir shel Shabbos Yom Hushin Chayv Arba Tfilos. So it's a day that you're chayv and all these tefillos. So since it's a day they're chayv on tefillah, so therefore you mentioned Shabbos. So too, since the day and Chanukah, some days requires it's the Musaf, so you also it requires 4 tefillah, so you added Musaf. You do mention Al Nisim because that's the day. But the Gemara says, nevertheless, Kash Hilchasa. This is a stira, right? There's a steer from Rabbi Shua ben Levi's halacha that he just said, that you mentioned Shabbos during Elul. Why? So Marta Hilchas like Rabbi Shua ben Levi. You said the halacha just now was like Rabbi Shua ben Levi. The Kaim alone, we also establish Hilchas like Rava. We also say that in another place halacha is like Rava. In which case, Dioma Rava says Yom Tov Shechaliyos b'Shabbos. Yom Tov Shechaliyos b'Shabbos. Now, you have Yom Tov, right? Think that falls on Shabbos. Shaliach Tzibur Hayori Lifnei Ateva Arvis. Einoi Tzarech Lahaska Sheyom Tov. Now, we know normally on Shabbos, at the end of Friday night, right, you go to Shul, and after Shemona Esrei, what do we say over there, right? We say, right, Magen Avos, right? We say, a completely different, like sort of like a quasi Chazar Sashatz, right? He begins, right, Baruch Hashem, right, and he goes, Magen Avos. Now, that's only said on Shabbos, not Yom Tov. It's not said on Yom Tov. It's only said on Shabbos. Now, if Yom Tov falls on Shabbos, so Shlich Tzibur Hayor Lefnei Teva, Arvis, Einoi Tzarech Lahaska Sheyom Tov. He doesn't mention Yom Tov at all. He only mentions Shabbos over there. Shemolei Shabbos ain't Shech Tzibur Arvis B'Yom Tov. Because if it wasn't for that, then there would be no basically this Magen Avos wouldn't be said. So I understand. So if it's the day we said on Al Nisim, even though since we are commanded to say in that day, so therefore you mention Al Nisim, why over here, since we're commanded to say Magen Avos, right, on Friday night because of Shabbos, you should also mention the Yom Tov. So Gemara says, "Haki hashta." How can you compare it to Hasan bedinu de'afilu b'Shabbos nami lo yitzarich? Really, over there, you're not supposed to say it, right? No, it's really mikra din. You don't. There's no chazar sashatz by Arvis night. We don't say Magen Avos. What's the whole point? What's the whole point of there? Rabbanan who the Tikkun b'Shem Sakana. The Rabbanan were masaking to go ahead and say this bracha Magen Avos. Why? Because you used to go ahead and daven out in the fields, and it was dangerous to come back late at night by yourself. So therefore, those who are still davening, so they sort of do the chazar sashatz to sort of take more time, so everyone would leave together. So therefore, it was a takana that they made, but it wasn't really part of the essence of the day of the Shabbos. But over here, Yom Hushin is Chai Barbat Fields. But over here, the day, the Musaf day or the Shabbos day does require for tefillos, and therefore you say all the tefillos al nisim or Rosh Chodesh, you say al nisim and all the tefillos. So therefore, you can't compare it to. So therefore, the halachas between Rava and Rabbi Shua ben Levi is not a stira. Fine. And finally, one last quote from the Mishnah. So the Mishnah said, and different things that you can and cannot light, I guess, from the to use for the fuel. And we said over there, we were talking about the. All right, so he said v'lo b'shem streifa, and after it said by shem and streifa, right? It says v'lo ba'aliyah v'lo b'chelav. Right, and not with the tail from the sheep, and not the chelav. And Nachomada Yomer Malikim Mechel Mavushal. Nachomada says you can light chelav, which is mavushal, and the Chachamim say Echa Mavushal, Echa Mavushal, Ein Malikimo. You can't light any sort of chelav. So now the Gemara asks, Chachamim Haina Tanakama. What do you mean? The Chachamim Tanakama. The Tanakama also agreed you can't light any sort of fats in order because the fat doesn't fuel properly, and a person might come to go ahead and tilt his camera. So Gemara answers, "Ika b'nai de Rav Bruna Amarav." No, the nafkin is Rav Bruna Amarav. We saw it earlier in the Gemara a couple of days ago. Rav Bruna Amarav says that what? That if you have bad fuel, but you add a little bit of fuel to it, then you would be allowed to go ahead and light it on Shabbos because then it would, there's no the gzeir over there, and it would go ahead and feel properly, and we're not worried about tilting. However, the Gemara says v'loy misaymi. The Gemara doesn't prove who holds it will be mutter, who holds it's aser, because whether it's the Tanakama or a Chachamim, so therefore it says that is the nafkamina. We just don't know who was the one who said who said which. Naya Mishnah.
Naya Mishnah.
Naya Mishnah. All right, very good. Mishnah says. All right. So we said the Mishnah said that Ein Malikim B'Shem and Streifa, that we actually mentioned this in the previous Mishnah as we mentioned in the Gemara, right? That you're not allowed to go ahead and light with oil that Shem and Streifa. We define Shem and Streifa as basically that truma oil that became tamei, and there was an obligation to go ahead and burn it. You can't use it for anything. You can't use it for fuel. You can't use it for consuming. You can't use it for any sort of benefit. So Ein Malikim B'Shem and Streifa, you're not allowed to go ahead and light on Yantif. Rabbi Shmuel Omer Ein Malikim B'Itron B'nei Kavod Shabbos. You can't go ahead and light with this Itron because of Kodesh Shabbos, because it stinks, it smells as a foul odor, and therefore if you go ahead and you light it, then people are not going to be in that room. They're going to have to eat in a dark room. It's not Shabbos-dik. It's not good. It's not Kodesh Shabbos. We're matir in any types of oils, b'shem and shumshmin, b'shem and egoizim, b'shem and snunois, b'shem and dogim, b'shem. So he said b'shem kuas. So he said you're allowed to go and sesame oil, or nut oil, or radish oil, or oil from fish. And shem kuas is some sort of gourd type of thing, delois, right? As Rashi says, something with gourd. Or the English says I don't even know what it is in English. It says
what about olive oil?
Are the Chachamim coming to challenge what Rabbi Yishmael says?
No. So I don't think they're coming on that which smells. I think they're coming on all these types of oils. We're soon to see Rabbi Tarfon's going to argue in the Mishnah. He said, "B'shem kuas b'itron v'nefes." So he says, "B'itron v'nefes." You are allowed to. He says any type of oil you're allowed to, as long as it burns properly. You're allowed to. And Rabbi Tarfon Aimer, Eiman Lincoln El B'Shem and Zayis Bilvad. And Rabbi Tarfon says Shem and Zayis, you can't only olive oil, and not the others. But the Chachamim do argue with Rabbi Yishmael. They say even though the stinky oil is not good, you are allowed to go ahead and light it for Shabbos, right, and have it on for Shabbos. So let's see the Gemara now. What's Shem and Streifa? We talk about Shem and Streifa. So now my time. What's the reason? We're not allowed to go ahead and burn kachim and yantif. So now, obviously, you're allowed to go ahead and offer your karbonos, but the limbs and stuff which need to go ahead and be burnt, and certainly that which is the limbs that have to be burned, and those things, those get pushed off. You're not allowed to. Right? Ain't surfing. So Gor says minani mili. How do you know this? In other words, we have a case. In other words, we have an assay of go ahead and burn it, and you have a lois assay of don't do malacha. So why don't we have over here? You have an assay doicha lois assay, right? Well, actually, this reason is actually we'll see for the fourth reason. The Gemara gives 4 reasons, at least that I know of. Could be others tomorrow. I don't know. So the Gemara says she beyond Samani Mili. So Amar Chizkiya v'chei Tanad be'Chizkiya. So Chizkiya so the Tani Shiva Chizkiya. Amar Kra the pasuk says v'loi sasir meno ad boker v'hanoiser meno ad boker. Right, so that's the pasuk. It says, "Do not leave it over to the morning." If it was left till the morning, right, then you go ahead and burn it. So why did it say ad boker twice, right? Ad boker, shein tamalayimar ad boker. So what does it come to teach ad boker? So ma tamalay, what does it come to teach you? So ad boker, because they ten lo boker sheini the surfa saw. So this is talking about by the Karm Pesach says if you leave it over to the morning, then you have to go ahead and burn it. But it says in the boker twice. So why say boker twice? In other words, don't go ahead and burn it the next morning, because remember, one day Yontif, and the 15th of Nisan is Pesach, and then the 16th is Redi Chol Moed. So it says, don't burn it in the morning, wait till the next morning. In other words, don't burn it on Yontif, right? Burn it after Yontif. So therefore, you see over here that one should not go ahead and burn Kachim on Yontif, rather later on. So over here, you're burning the truma, right, just compared to kachim. So therefore, do not go ahead and burn it, right, have it burn on Yontif. Wait till after Yontif. Fine. That was reason number 1. Abai Yomar, Omar Kra, the pasuk says, Oilas Shabbos b'Shabbosoi, v'lo Oilas Chol b'Shabbos, v'lo Oilas Chol b'Yontif. He says, simply it says, the Ola of Shabbos is burned on Shabbos. But it's only the Ola on Shabbos, burn on Shabbos. The Ola is Chol b'Shabbos, and you can't go ahead and burn the Ola that was from Chol on Shabbos, and not the Ola of Chol on Yontif. So you see that something that's not for that day should not be burnt during that time. And therefore, that even though you have to go ahead and burn the Truma, right, the Kachim, right, which is Kodesh, nevertheless, doesn't necessarily need to be burnt on Shabbos. And therefore, you shouldn't go ahead and burn on Shabbos. The only thing that should be burned on Shabbos is those things for Shabbos. And Rava says, Amar Kra, the pasuk says, Hu levado yaselechem. So the pasuk says, I'm just finding the pasuk here. It says, Hu levado yaselechem. Right. So the pasuk says, V'yom Rishon Mikra Kodesh. You know, it says, on the first day is Yantif. On the 7th day is Yantif, right? Only that, in other words, on Pesach, only that malacha that you need, right? Only that which is eichel nefesh, only that which is for that day. In other words, you need to go ahead and you're allowed to cook on Yantif, so you can use that malacha for that day, right? But it says only hu levado yaseh. So hu levado Only who knows that those are machshir. So those are not permitted. And what else? Right? Velo, and says levado. Velo mila shalei bismana. And also you will not be able to go ahead and do bris mila shalei bismana. Now, why do you know that? Right? Also be kavachemer that you would have thought in kavachemer. Now, what's the kavachemer? So we have halacha, right? That by a metzora, right? Is metzora allowed to work in the temple? He is not. He's not allowed to do the avoda. So we see, right? Tsaras is doiche, pushes off the avoda, and also avoda is done on Shabbos, right? They offer kabbanos on Shabbos, right? So what do you see from here? That, and nevertheless, we have that the bris milah, you would think, right? It's not a kavachemer. So if a bris milah is doichet saras, now why is the bris milah doichet saras? Because if a person has let's say saras in the makom milah, so he's allowed to go ahead and get a bris milah, even though there's a halacha restriction. You're not allowed to go ahead and cut off your saras, but nevertheless, you're allowed to give a bris milah despite the fact you're covering off. So we see that bris milah is stronger than saras. So bris milah is stronger than saras. And saras was stronger than the avoda, and the avoda could be done on Shabbos. So certainly a bris milah could be done on Shabbos, right? So it says over there, but even on milah shelo b'zmana. So therefore it says, you might think for kavachemer that you can do ahead on milah shelo b'zmana, you can do it on Shabbos or do it on Yom Tov. So therefore the pasuk says, right? Hu levado yeselachem. Only a bris during bismana you can do, but something which is shelo bismana, you can't do it on Shabbos, you can't do it on Yom Tov, and not only that, you also can't burn kachim also. It's only hu levado, only during its time, but something not in its time, such as right burning this shum oil, since it's not in its proper time. Therefore, do not burn it on Shabbos or do not burn it on Yom Tov. You have to wait till afterwards. So therefore, you can't go ahead and burn shemen sreifa on Yom Tov. And finally, Rav Ashi Amar says Shabbosoy asay. Now we thought the whole time it was an asay versus a lois asay, right? Asay, go ahead and burn, versus a lois asay of kol malacha lois asu. But now there's actually a second asay, right? There's an asay of Shabboson. You should rest. Now there's a commandment, a due commandment, to telling you to rest on Shabbos. So it's an asay, right? And asay v'havile yom tov asay v'loisasay, and therefore yom tov is asay and loisasay. Now there's two things telling you not to go ahead and burn on yom tov. It's an asay of you should rest, and a loisasay of do not do malacha. And there's only one asay of burn it. So therefore you don't have an asay doicha loisasay asay, and therefore those two went out, and therefore that's the reason why it would be prohibited to go ahead and burn the shemen sreifa on yom tov. Vein asay doiches loisasay v'asay. Fine. So we'll stop over here. Everyone should have a wonderful day.
Shkoyach.
Get the recording.